Breaking news, Baker Mayfield headed to the NFC West, but not to San Francisco. The Rams claiming Baker Mayfield off waivers, confirmed by our Jonathan Jones. The former number 1 overall pick was cut by the Panthers earlier this week after starting 6 games. He threw 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. The Rams way out of the playoff race. They're 3-9 this season. They take on the Raiders this Thursday. Baker Mayfield was one of the worst quarterbacks, one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL this season. Chris Hassell joined by Kanell and Pete Prisco. Pete, I think we need to first look at this from a 49ers perspective because they're the relevant team here. Should Niners fans be a little upset that the Rams picked him up off waivers before the Niners potentially could?
I mean, you could look at it that way. Were they even going to pick him up? There was no saying they were going to pick him up. No, I don't. And plus, there were 20 teams between the two of them.
Would he be a better option than Brock Purdy for the 49ers?
Who knows? Not the version of Baker Mayfield we saw this year.
What about the version that won and went to the playoffs with the Browns?
A couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like,
well, at least you've seen him with that version. Did you think it was going to work out in Carolina for Baker?
No.
That roster
is
atrocious. It's a bad team.
But he was terrible. Of all the quarterbacks
Absolutely,
he
was terrible. But he's a guy that needs a good roster and needs a good defense. That was the formula to win in Cleveland when he did have success. I think Baker's the one here that's the biggest loser in all of this because it's very rare. Like the timing of his release from the Panthers was odd, right?
He asked for it.
Absolutely, he asked for it, specifically so he could have this opportunity, or so he thought. And the Panthers let him go, said, sure, maybe they did him a solid, said, we'll let you out, you're not our future, we'll let you have this opportunity. I think he thought he was going to be the quarterback in San Francisco probably in a week or two. And for him to get picked up by the Rams, who, by the way, another bad offensive line, I don't think he's going to have success there. I think he's the biggest loser in all of this. And I do think the 49ers would have made a lot of sense. He played with Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski goes back to Minnesota, where he was with Gary Kubiak's system. Like, there's some ties where the system he could have picked up fairly quickly as far as a in-season signing. So I think it would have made sense, and I think Baker's probably the biggest loser.
Similar system to what they use in with the Rams too. I mean, he's going to be able to step in and play right away if he wants to. But let's not get caught up in who he was. Let's get caught up in who he is. And this year he was the worst quarterback in the NFL. I mean, you can't argue it. The numbers all play it out.
Bad last year, too.
It was bad. But last year, I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass because he had the bad shoulder last year. This year, he's just terrible. It's almost like it went for him. It's gone. I mean, every number. Look at these numbers. 32nd, 31st, 28th, 32nd. You talk about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, his first game numbers are much better than that.
Well, Brock Purdy played 1 game so far in the NFL.
You're going to be surprised by Brock Purdy. I think the 49ers know what they have in them. They feel like they have a guy that they can be part of their offense and will be a better option than this guy. The Rams, this must be something of a concern down the road with Matt Stafford. That's because otherwise you just play out the season with John Wolford and see how it plays out. But Matt Stafford had 2 concussions in a row. Now today he had the spinal issue. Whatever that is, who knows? But they have to have concerns about him, and you want to protect yourself a little bit. It's not like they have a lot of draft capital to go draft quarterbacks, so they must be concerned about Matt Stafford.
But you say worried about Stafford, so they might be looking down the road. You wouldn't think that they're looking at Baker Mayfield to be a starter next season.
What other options? Is he better than John Wolford? Is he better than Bryce Perkins?
Wouldn't you?
And you don't have draft capital to draft him.
He's definitely better than both of those guys.
Of course he is.
Yeah. So I think to your question, I think they're looking at maybe, and I think at this point in Baker Mayfield's career, where he's been given multiple opportunities to be a starter, now he kind of settles into that not back half, but the part of his career where he realizes maybe my best chance is to be a backup to a guy like Matt Stafford, and as he plays his way off, then you get the opportunity.
He was benched for P.J. Walker. Think about that for a second. He was benched for, say it again, he was benched for P.J. Walker. That's all you need to know. It would have been funny if he gone to San Francisco and not been the starting quarterback because Purdy played well enough. Then you would have had the last player drafted playing more than the first player drafted. I mean, let's be real. When he came out, he shouldn't have been the first pick. He's a nice quarterback for a team, like you said, with everything going right. So San Francisco would have worked, but I think Purdy will work in that offense as well.
Okay, so the Rams, maybe it was a move out of spite. Maybe they're trying to spite the 49ers.
I think it wouldn't be surprising at all. Division rival to say, you know what, we're not going to let you waltz over and pick up a quarterback. It's pretty cheap. We have a need. We have issues. And you can kind of play it that way. But I don't think they were just going to let it go by.
The Rams should, if that's the case, the Rams should worry more about how they should beat Kyle Shanahan because they never
he's
beat
owned
him.
them. Yeah.
He's owned them. That's not. This is if that's petty, you should worry more about things that relate to the football field.
I'm surprised, Pete. You seem like a guy who would make a move just out of pettiness.
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. You can have that. You can have them if you want. My team's done this year. If you want them to go win the Super Bowl, fine. But it's not going to impact me next year.
Baker Mayfield claimed by the LA Rams. They have a Thursday night game against the Vegas Raiders to kick off this week in the NFL.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.